there, gentle listeners. This is your buddy, Herb the Wizard, and I'll be ready in just a minute. Just let me find it on the dial.
Due to some equipment issues, tonight's episode is probably going to be a little bit rough.
Well, there we go. This is it. Get ready. We're going to start the show. Hey there, everybody. This is your pal, Herb the Wizard. And I want to welcome you to this, our 67th episode of the Grow with Grubby Cub show. As Grubby Cub previously mentioned in the little clip there, we're having some technical difficulties, so we're going to try to work around it, but just kind of bear with us and have some magical potion. I like magical potion, and magical potion's just the right sort of thing when things aren't going quite right. So everybody, just relax and tune in and have a good time, because, that's what we're here for. This is life, and you can either have a good time or you can have a not good time. So I'd work on having a good time, because, it's what you got. And now it's time to listen to a little bit of the wonderful and delightful Kelly Erickson, currently playing with Teaser.
Got some seeds to grow, he'll keep you in the know. Variety to claim, so baby, what's his name? He's the man to know. He'll make your garden grow. Grubby Cup's his name. He's the man who'll make a change.
Hello there, gentle listeners. This is your roving bard, Leaf Malone, reporting on the Grow with Grubby Cup show, brought to you by DFZ Radio at dfzradio.com. And here they are, the buds of the circle table.
Oh, see, it is I, Sancho Banza.
Good evening. I'm Alfred the Dungeon Keeper. Hi there, friends. This is the Irreverent Joe.
And I'm Herb the Wizard.
Psst, it's me, Vinny the Viper,
the Sheriff of Riding Puck.
And I am your host, the Green Knight, Grubby Cup Stash. Thank you for joining us here on the Grow with Grubby Cup show. Brought to you by the good folks over at DFZ Radio at dfzradio.com. Okay, let's do upcoming events. On 6/1 in Florida, Oasis Garden in Jacksonville is having their Customer Appreciation Day. On 6/20 in Maine is Urban Garden Center in Brewer is having a Customer Appreciation Day. Also on 6/20 in Michigan, UPGC is having a Growers Cup and Conference. I will be attending this myself with all the buds of the circle table, so if you're in the Michigan Upper Peninsula area on 6/20, come on by and say hi. On 7/26 in California at the Los Angeles Convention Center is the Maxim Yield Indoor Garden Expo. And on 9/12 in Maine, the Urban Garden Center in Topsham is having a Customer Appreciation Day. If you're a hydro shop and you're having a Customer Appreciation Day and you're not one of the ones that was listed, please contact me at grubbycup.com and we'll make sure to put your event on the list. It will appear on the front page at grubbycup.com, as well as being announced here on the Grow with Grubby Cup show.
Hello there, Mr. and Mrs. Jenna Reader and all the ships at sea. Now it's time for... The Grubby Cup is a portion of our program where we take questions from you, the general listeners, and read them here on air. Please keep in mind that that plant that shall not be named shall continue not to be named, so please don't include it in your letters.
Okay, let's get started. Who's got the first letter?
Ooh, see, I have a letter. She reads, Dear Grubby Cup, I had some expensive orchids in my garden, and somebody took them. This made me very sad. Can you offer any tips? Signed, TJ and E.
Well, TJ, the problem is that if you have orchids or other expensive plants and you are too liberal with sharing that information, if you brag around to your friends and let folks know, keep in mind that every time that gets mentioned, you're taking a security hit. I wish it wasn't so, but unfortunately, there are members of the Agents of Meanness that will, keep an ear out for things that somebody has that they feel they have more of a right to than the person that owns them. So my advice to you is to stay very tight-lipped about things unless you have a worthwhile or very good reason why not to.
Oh, see, I think you should keep your big mouth shut. Shut it. Shut the mouth. Don't run the mouth. Shut it. Shut it up.
And that goes for things like posting various pictures and that on Facebook as well. There's a truly astounding amount of individuals who are posting pictures and that of their orchids without real regard to who may wind up seeing them. With Facebook and that, we're really coming up on a new phenomenon where kids can look up the youthful follies of their parents. So that may wind up being an interesting phenomenon. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Speaking of Facebook, I got popped by the Facebook fuzz, whatever. So if you want to keep updated on what I'm doing, etc., please go over to the Grubby Cup Facebook page and the Grow with Grubby Cup Facebook page and give them a like to give you a shot at following the posts. Go on over and give them a like. That's the Grubby Cup Facebook page and the Grow with Grubby Cup Facebook page.
Well, hey there, Grubby Cup. I have a letter for you. The letter, it reads, Dear Grubby Cup, my radishes and tomatoes are in a little greenhouse outside, and my radishes are bolting, and my tomatoes aren't producing fruit. Do you have any suggestions? And the letter is signed Poppy from Poppysville.
Well, without more information, I can't tell you for sure what the issue is, but from what it sounds like, radishes will bolt if they get hot. They're a cool weather plant, and especially with the onset of spring in that, if it's too hot for them, they'll go ahead and set flower.
Well, gee, Grubby, that makes sense. That's why you consider them to be a cool weather plant, not a hot weather plant. That's understandable, because one of them does the flowers and that doesn't make very good radishes.
And on the tomatoes, my best guess is that since they're in a greenhouse, they aren't getting agitated enough to go ahead and pollinate themselves and set fruit. Tomatoes have both the male and female parts enclosed in the same flower, so it's not a matter of a pollinator taking pollen from one flower and transferring it to the other, but they do need a little bit of shake, like in the breeze and that. What you can do to help simulate this is you can either flick the flowers gently with your finger. Don't do damage, but, give them a little flick to give them a little shake. Or you can, what some folks do is you can take an electric toothbrush. And I haven't done it myself, but apparently it works. If you gently brush the flowers with the backside of the electric toothbrush, it'll shake it and, pollinate the flower.
Yes. I think the backside of an electric toothbrush can be an impromptu tool for many things, particularly if touched lightly against things, slowly, gently.
Oh, hey, Alfred. I hope that answered your question. Next letter, please.
Oh, Signor Grubby, I have a letter for you. The letter, she reads, Dear Grubby, how much of the vitamin B1 should I add and when? I hear it is good for the transplanting and for the little seeds. Signed, Silly in Saskatchewan.
Well, Silly, to be blunt about it, I never recommend adding vitamin B1 to your plants. As far as the actual testing that's been done, to the best of my knowledge, vitamin B1 doesn't do anything one way or another to the plant. There are vitamin B1 supplements on the market that do have an effect on plants, but that's because they usually kick in a little iron or a little magnesium, something like that, that actually makes a difference in the plant. And my attitude in that is that if that's what you want, then simply add some iron or add some magnesium or whatever it is, the additive that you want, and stop perpetuating the myth that vitamin B1 is useful for plants. Now, Sunset Magazine and others have run trials that show that vitamin B1 doesn't appear to have any beneficial effect. So one thing that's kind of nice is that at least you know if anyone's trying to push a B1 product on you or is giving you advice on a B1 product, that you know they haven't done even a little bit of research on the subject.
This is your wandering bard, Leaf Malone, and it's time for Poetry to Ponder.
And now, an excerpt from Grimm's fairy tales entitled Sweetheart Roland. There once was a woman who was a witch, and she had 2 daughters, one ugly and wicked, and one pretty and good. She loved the wicked one because she was her own child, but hated the good one because she was a stepdaughter. One day the stepdaughter put on a pretty apron, which the other daughter liked so much that she became envious, and said to her mother that she must and should have the apron. Be content, my child, said the old woman. Thou shalt have it. Thy stepsister has long deserved death, and tonight, while she is asleep, I shall come and cut off her head. Take care to lie at the furthest side of the bed and push her to the outside. And it would have been all and over for the poor girl if she had not been standing in a corner near and heard it all. She did not dare to go outside the door the whole day long, and when bedtime came, the other got into bed first as to lie on the further side, but when she had gone to sleep, the stepdaughter pushed her toward the outside and took the inside place next to the wall. In the night, the old woman came sneaking. In her right hand she held an axe, and with her left she felt for the one who was lying outside. And then she heaved up the axe with both hands and hewed off the head of her only daughter. And that is the end of tonight's excerpt.
I hope you enjoyed it. The actual Grimm's fairy tales are sometimes rather grim. And now for a few words from our sponsors. The Grow with Grubby Cup show is brought to you in part by Sally's House is Negotiable Virtue. If Sally's not there, then beat it.
You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash. You're listening to us on dfzradio.com.
We're listening to dfzradio.com.
Hey there, everybody, and this is your pal, the Wizard, and I'm here to remind you that the Heavy Tea Grow Show is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The Beer 30 Show is on Mondays at 5:30. On Tuesdays, it's a twofer. You get a Girl in a Garden at 5 p.m. and Grow with Grubby Cup Show at 6. Make sure to tune in to DFZ Radio for all your bizarre, weird, and odd programming.
dfzradio.com.
Botanicare is proud to introduce a revolutionary three-part nutrient system that is the culmination of over 15 years of research and development. The Kind Plant Nutrient System. Designed by leading plant physiologists, this is the most versatile, effective, yet easy-to-use plant nutrient system ever created. It all starts with Kind Base. Kind Base contains nitrogen and calcium, but no trace minerals, magnesium, or sulfur. By placing those nutrients in the Grow and Bloom formulas, you have greater control over how your plants grow in your medium of choice. Using coco coir or RO water, just add more base to increase calcium levels. Growing in clay pebbles or rock wool, then just reduce the amount of base to ensure the proper calcium level. It's that easy. Kind Grow contains trace minerals and a proprietary blend of all natural ingredients to help maximize root growth, reduce internodal spacing, and create a lush canopy. Kind Bloom was formulated with the optimum phosphorus to potassium ratio. Your plants will have healthy branch and stalk development, accelerated flower set, and increased yields. Kind Bloom also contains magnesium to help improve photosynthetic efficiency, which is critical in accelerated growth environments. To put it more simply, Botanicare's Kind Nutrient System is the only nutrient system that is fully customizable to your kind of plants and medium. Botanicare Kind Base, Grow, and Bloom. Fully customizable. Any plant, any medium. For more information, go to botanicare.com. Botanicare Kind. Make it your kind.
We're listening to DFZ Radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash. You're listening to us on the DFZ Radio Network at dfzradio.com.
Hello, gentle listeners and all the ships at sea. This is your wandering bard, Leaf Malone. And now it's time for Meals and Munchies. Well, gee whiz, your Grubby Cup, I'm feeling kind of hungry. So what are we making today?
Bacon wrapped chicken with extra bacon.
Okay, Grubby, I really like bacon. I think it's awful tasty. I gotta watch out or I'll stuff myself full with bacon. And bacon's really good, but you always have to use stuff in moderation. It's like magical potions. I really like magical potions, but you have to use them in moderation. So, wait, I think I have a little magical potion right now.
All right, Herb, you go do that. What I like to use to cook on is you can get a quarter sheet tray from a restaurant supply store, and at that same place, generally pretty inexpensively, they usually have a wire rack that will fit on it. And the two of those in combination come in handy for a lot of different things. You can use the rack as a cooling rack. You can cook on it. They're very useful to have around. And usually about the same price as you'd pay for the regular consumer grade stuff. It's just made to take a lot more abuse. Now, if you don't have that, you can use a broiler pan or any of the other wire rack type things. You just want to make sure that as the grease cooks from the bacon, it's got someplace to drain to and to drip down onto.
Hey, Grubby! Grubby! I'm hungry, Grubby. I'm hungry.
Okay, now, it's really simple. What we're going to do is we're going to take a package of bacon and we're going to lay it out, starting with 4 pieces of bacon to make a square, a hollow square. And then take the remaining strips of bacon and you're going to weave them together in a lattice. So it's over one and under the next, and then over one and under the next. And then on the next row, you just do the opposite. So if you went over last time, you go under this time. And that way you just make a simple lattice like you would for the top of a cherry pie. And then you put your chicken breasts in the center of it and roll them together and set them on the rack. And to start with, you want to start with it upside down, because what you're going to do is you're going to put it in a 350-degree oven.
For those of you cooking with a dragon, that's about 3.5 squitches on the tummy.
Yeah. And anyway, you start out with it upside down, so you kind of crisp the bottom of it a little in a 350-degree oven, and it's going to take a while. It'll probably take half hour, 45 minutes or so. And then go in and flip it over so the pretty lattice work side is on top. And go ahead and let that finish cooking and crisping along the top.
There's no way I'm waiting that long, Grubby Gub. I'm hungry now.
Wait, no, Herb.
Them boys fast forwarders. All right, it's later now. Oh, wait up, Grubby. It's gone. It disappeared.
Herb, don't you remember the last time you tried to use Smokey to cook bacon?
Oh, yeah, Grubby, I remember. It was the bacon kept disappearing. I kept trying, and the bacon kept disappearing.
And what did we learn from that?
Oh, yeah, Grubby, I remember. We done the Smokey can't be trusted with cooked. Hey, Smokey ate it.
Flash, and now it's time for your moment of meditation.
Sit back, relax, let the worries of the day float away. In with the good air.
And hold it. And out with the bad air.
When you exhale, breathe out the worry and the tension and all the negative feelings that you have bottled up inside. And in with the good air.
And then out with the bad air.
Take a moment and relax and really pay attention to the inner you inside, your inner voice, your inner being, and breathe in.
And hold it. And then breathe out.
And just take a moment and remember that all the atoms in your body were once part of something else, and when you're done with them, they'll turn into something else. And in with the good air, and out with the bad air. Enjoy this time. Enjoy your day. You only have so much time, and how you spend it, in part, is due to how you choose to spend it.
Hi there, friends. This is the Irreverend Job, and I would like to encourage that how you spend it is to spend it not being an asshole. There are enough assholes in this world. We have so many assholes already taking up so much space that we do not need anyone to help contribute to that. Now, I know what some of you are saying. What some of you are saying is there in the back, I can hear you a mumbling. I can hear you mumbling the irreverend. What if I'm thinking of doing something and I'm not sure if it's an asshole thing to do or not? Well, friend, I tell you true. The way that you tell is you use a superpower that has been extremely maligned in the past years called empathy. What you do is you take a look at how your words and how your actions will reflect when they are being seen by other people. If you are an asshole to your kids, then you encourage them to grow up to be assholes. So do us a favor, and if you're an asshole, do not procreate. If you're not an asshole, don't procreate with people who are. Now take you a big old breath, and you hold it, and you hold it, and then you let it out. Ain't that child better? I think it's better. This has been the Irreverend Job, and I'm imploring you to not be an agent of meanness and not to be an asshole.
This program is brought to you in part by
all the fine folks in the hydroponic industry that give me support and allow me to do things like put on this show for you guys today.
You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show on DFZ Radio at dfzradio.com.
dfzradio.com.
Hey there, everybody, and this is your pal, the Wizard, and I'm here to remind you that the Heavy Tea Grow Show is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The Beer 30 Show is on Mondays at 5:30. On Tuesdays, it's a twofer. You get a Girl in the Garden at 5 p.m. and Grow with Grubby Cup Show at 6. Make sure to tune in to DFZ Radio for all your bizarre, weird, and odd programming.
We're listening to DFC Radio.com.
Your garden's looking far out. You must listen to DFZRadio.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash, and you're listening to us on DFZRadio.com.
And now it's time for Buzz of the Circle Table.
I'd like to talk just a little bit about setting up a little cutting and seedling station. The first thing to do is figure out where you're going to put it. Keep in mind, as always, that things sometimes drip and sometimes leak, so make sure that whatever area you're using can accept a little bit of excess water if something happens, when something happens. And two, you want it someplace relatively out of the way where it's not going to get bumped and jostled and be annoying.
Oh, see, or you could be like Senor Grubby Cup and just have plants everywhere.
Okay, fair's fair. I have to admit, I have cooking herbs growing on my kitchen table.
Oh, see, but at least you have fresh herbs.
There is that, and fresh herbs can really help put a little extra something in many dishes.
Oh, see, just don't go too crazy with the cilantro.
Seriously? You're not fond of cilantro? I wouldn't have guessed.
Oh, see, a little bit is okay, but too much, and then all I taste is cilantro.
Okay, back to setting up our little station here. The first thing we're going to set down is a seedling heating mat, which you may or may not need depending on your environment. In general, cuttings and seeds like temperature about 10 degrees above what's comfortable room temperature. So comfortable room temperature is about 72, and many seeds in that will benefit from another 10 degrees or so they're in an environment of about 80 degrees. You don't want to get them too hot, so if it's in the middle of the summer and it's 90 degrees, don't use a heating mat. Yes, there's hot, and then there's so hot things end too quickly. Oh, hey, Alfred, that whole sneaking up thing is getting kind of creepy. Anyway, if you use a heating mat, then make sure that it doesn't have any damage or any nicks or cuts or anything in it, because it is an electrical piece of equipment, and you're going to be putting a tray on it with water, and water and electricity should be kept apart from each other whenever possible. So lay down the heating mat, and to be fair, if you're going to use a heating mat, I really prefer one with a thermostat or some way to control the temperature, because again, if it gets too hot, you don't want the heating mat to overcook the little sprouts. Yes, you kill them, and it's your fault. It will be murder.
Oh, see, don't be killing the little plants. Don't do it. Don't kill them.
Now, one nice thing about the heating mats is usually they're just the right size for a standard 10-20 tray. Now, when getting the 10-20 trays, there are those that are the single thickness, and then usually for right at twice as much, there's a double thickness one. I really prefer the double thickness 10-20 trays to the standard thickness ones. In part because quite often, you wind up using two of the thin ones to get any sort of stability anyway, so you might as well just start out with the thicker ones. Into that 10-20 tray, they have cell inserts, which then can either be filled with rooting cubes or potting soil or, a variety of things to start your seeds or your cuttings in. Another alternative is rock wool. I have to admit, Rockwool's not my favorite. It tends to stay a little soggy for me, but that may be have to do with the humidity in my environment.
Yes, one thing about Rockwool is once its end gets wet, it tends to stay wet for a long time, which sometimes may come in handy as long as it doesn't start to grow molds and things.
Well, now you've got your heating mat 1020 tray and something to hold your plants in. And again, if you don't want to use some sort of a cell insert, one of my favorite cheap and easy things to do is to grab some of the cheap plastic party cups and a soldering iron. And if you heat up the soldering iron, use a cheap one, you'll screw up the tip a little bit. But turn on the soldering iron, and if you're careful with it, you can poke some really nice, neat little holes in the bottom of the little PET plastic cups. Anyway, no matter what you're using to hold your plants in order to keep humidity up, you can use what's called a humidity dome. And this is a clear plastic dome that makes kind of a little mini greenhouse, and that way the humidity in the area right around the plants can be raised again, and the temperature helps with that. It'll help the water evaporate and make a humid little environment for your sprouts to help them not dry out.
But again, make sure that things are moist and not too wet. Because if they are too wet, then rots and other fungus can take hold and kill your seedlings or your cuttings, and it will be your fault, and you will be a murderer.
Now, with the humidity dome, keep in mind, it's not usually an all or nothing deal. You can, to raise the humidity the most, you can close up the little vents and put the cover on, or to drop the humidity a little bit. They usually have vents you can open, or you can lift up the dome and put it at a slight angle so it doesn't fit exactly down on the 1020 tray, and that can help. Or again, in some environments, if it's a very humid environment, you may not need to use the humidity dome at all.
Oh, see, you just have to do what makes them happy.
And then last but not least, arrange your plant light over the 1020 tray and the dome in that. When you're first starting seedlings or you're first starting cuttings, keep in mind, you don't need an excessive amount of light. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get the plants to have a chance to become established before you really put them to work, so to speak. So a small T5 light is generally a very popular choice. One nice thing about having a small T5 light to light your sprouts with is that you can get it relatively close to the sprouts. They don't take a lot of electricity, and they run relatively cool.
Oh, see, well, I think we will go try it, and we will see what we do. Thank you, Grubby Cup.
One more thing. Anytime you have cords, such as your heating mat cord or your light cord or any cords that are in the grow room, or any cords that are exposed, at least, potentially to moisture, you want to make sure you have what's called a drip loop near the outlet. And all this is a little loop in the cord where any water that gets on the cord will run down to and then drop off of before it gets to the outlet. It's a really simple thing to do. You can grab a zip tie and just make a loop, and it doesn't have to be tight because all it's there for is that any water that gets on the cord will run down to the lowest point and drop off before it gets a chance to, make it back to the outlet or make it back to the power strip or whatever else. And it's just a safety precaution that just takes a couple of seconds and is really worth taking.
Oh, see, I see. Thank you, Senor Grubby Cup.
Another nice thing about having a little seed and cutting station is that when you're not using them for that, you can use them to sprout edible sprouts for salads and sandwiches and whatever else you want to use sprouts for.
Oh, see. And when it is not being used for the plants, it makes for a nice kitty tanning bed. At least according to the kitties. I love the little pussygatos.
The Grow with Grubby Cup show is brought to you by Grow With Us Hydroponics. If you're in the Rhode Island, Warwick area and you need some hydroponic supplies, stop on by at Grow With Us Hydroponics. Tell them Grubby sent you. Speaking of the Rhode Island, New England area, if you happen to be in the Rhode Island, New England area, stop off at Grow With Us Hydroponics, Home and Hydro, or Three Guys Hydroponics, all of which are very fine stores in the Rhode Island area, all of which are carrying Grubby Cup's potting mix. If you are in New York, make sure to stop off at Harvest Moon Hydroponics in Buffalo and in Rochester. You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash. You're listening to us on dfzradio.com.
dfzradio.com.
Well, hey there, everybody, and this is your pal, the Wizard, and I'm here to remind you that the Heavy Tea Grow Show is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The Beer 30 Show is on Mondays at 5:30. On Tuesdays, it's a twofer. You get a Girl in the Garden at 5 p.m. and Grow with Grubby Cup Show at 6. Make sure to tune in to DFZ Radio for all your bizarre, weird, and odd programming.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Grow with Grubby Cup show. I'm your host, Grubby Cup Stash. You're listening to us on DFZ Radio at dfzradio.com or possibly on the DFZ YouTube radio channel. And now for a Cat on the Street interview. Dear sir, what do you think of the Grow with Grubby Cup show? And what do you think of Brand X? Remember, you heard it here first, folks. The Grow with Grubby Cup show. More purrs and less snores. Note: performance-enhancing catnip was not used for this interview. Hi there, friends. This is the Irreverend Job, and I just want to take another couple moments of your time, and I would like to give you a thought exercise that you may work on. Now, friends, what I want you to do is either on a piece of paper, or for those of you with the mental facilities in your mind, I want you to draw a box. And now in that box, I want you to draw a line right down the middle one way, and then I want you to draw a line right down the middle the other way. So you ought to have 4 little boxes where that one box was. All right. Now, if you're going to interact with somebody and you're not sure how they're going to react to you, there are 4 different scenarios. Either you can be a nice person and they can be a nice person, and that's the best scenario. I think we'll all agree that that's a scenario where everybody has a nice day. Or we have a scenario where you're being nice and the other person's being an asshole, and that's not good for your day, and that's, not good for their day, because you're exposed to an asshole and they're going to all that work being an asshole. Or the other 2 options for the other 2 boxes is that you can be an asshole and they can be nice, which ought to make you feel guilty and bad. Or you can both be assholes. Now, friends, the thing is, if you're looking to have a nice life, if you're looking to have a nice day, and you look at your little boxes there, you can see that the way for you to have a nice day is for you to bet on being nice. Because if you're nice, then the opportunity exists for the other person to be nice and for you to have a nice interaction, which will help contribute to you having a nice day. And now if we trip through the other boxes, I think that it's easy for you to see that if you're both assholes, then that just spreads more assholedom, and you're having an asshole day, and he's having an asshole day, and you're an asshole to each other, and that's not very nice. And if you notice that if you're being an asshole and he's nice, then you still having a day, because it takes some emotional energy to be an asshole. And he winds up mad at you because you were an asshole. So if you look at your little grid there, I think you'll be able to see that in any box where you're an asshole, you lose. Because that means you have an asshole in that conversation. Because it's you. And you can pretty much write off any conversation where you're the asshole in it, because then it's just not going to be a nice conversation, because one of the people's an asshole. So don't be an asshole. That leaves us with the other 2 alternatives. If you're nice, the other person can be nice, or if you're nice, the other person can be an asshole. Now, the solution for those times where you're nice and they're nice, it doesn't need a solution, because that's what we want. If you're nice and they're an asshole, what I recommend that you do is, at least for the first couple of times, you give them the benefit of the doubt that they're having a bad day, or their panties are in a bunch, or they're stepping on some sort of rock, or, they just got hit in the testicles or something, and they're just having a bad day. And you don't want to get locked into that cycle of somebody in the conversations being an asshole, so you give them the benefit of the doubt. And you keep being nice to them until you decide that, no, they're not just having a bad day, they're an asshole. And then what I'm going to recommend to you
is that if you know they're going to be an asshole, so it's going to be a bad conversation, that you don't talk to them anymore. See, part of the problem that we have here in society is that we have become so permissive with people who are assholes. And I understand that there's a natural nice tendency to cut the other person slack. And I think that's a good thing. I think that that leads to the possibility that the next time you talk, it might go a little better. It might go a little nicer. It might help you both have a little better day. But if you're going into a conversation and you know that somebody's going to be an asshole and you know it's not going to be you because you're better than that, then just avoid talking to them or interacting with them unless they have to. And what this is referred to as is a social pressure. See, nice folks got to quit putting up with so much of these assholes. So basically, if they're an asshole and they can be taught their way out of it, or they're on borderline, or they're just having a bad day, then by all means don't write them off. But if there are people that are just bound and determined to be an asshole and to screw up your day, minimize how much contact you have to have with them, minimize how much you got to deal with them, and if it comes to find out, then just tell them, because they're not nice to be around and you don't enjoy it, so you don't do it. This has been the Irreverend Job reminding each and every one of you to don't be an asshole.
Well, that's almost all the time we have for this week. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Please feel free to tell your friends, post on Facebook, get the word out, what have you. The support of people tuning in helps me get advertisers for the show, which keeps the show on the air. So, by all means, don't be shy. It shouldn't be a secret. Unless you're embarrassed that you listen to the show, in which case that's kind of understandable, and I won't argue with you on that one. Anyway, thank you one and all for tuning in. This has been the Grow with Grubby Cub Show. I've been your host, Grubby Cub Stash. You've been listening to us on dfzradio.com. Until next time, peace, love, and puka shells.
We got some seeds to grow, he'll keep you in the know. Variety to claim, so baby, what's his name? He's a man to know. He'll make your garden grow. Grubby Cup's his name. He's the man who make a change.
Wow, you listen to the whole show and you even listen to the very end of the theme song and everything. You should be very proud of yourself and you should give yourself a pat on your back, because I give you a pat on the back and my arms sound long enough, so you just have to give yourself a pat on your back. Well, until next week, this has been your buddy Up the Wizard saying, I hope you have a magical week and a wonderful weekend.
Your garden's looking far out. You must listen to dfzradio.com.